The tbate comic has given us a bit of a roller coaster ride in the past few months. There was the sexy cougar, the poison demon slayer looking ass Jagrat, and now the Dojin queen herself, Scythe Seris. Chapter 194 and 195 have finally introduced the Lady Seris in all her magnificent glory, and it was, for the lack of a better word, glorious.
Ever had a dream?
She showed up and gave me a look that had me thinking,
From now on, I'm party.
I'm not sure if it's because I know how she is, but her status, power, and forgive me for saying this, aura, filled me with probably more hype than I thought a mere look could. Before I go any further though, this version of Seris is essentially the third version we have and the first one of her standing. I don't know if that matters, but which version is your favorite? There's the first novel version we got, the second one of all the vitriol, which personally is my least favorite, and the third version, which is her depiction by the new artist. Let me know in the comment section below the like button. I know there was a lot of hype when she showed up, both for people that know who she becomes and comic onlys, but I think the setup of events lent a lot more credence to her showing than what's immediately obvious. To preface, Arthur Leywin as we know him loves pain and loves pushing himself to the limit just to worry the people he tells not to worry about him, and it makes sense sometimes, but anyone else would have left something like a mana marker at the entry of Darv and come back another day. But he wanted to investigate enemy territory when he could barely walk. But it's because of the way he is that the moment of Seris' first introduction was actually so memorable. The best part about that is, this isn't even her best appearance yet. Call me again when she's in the sky holding something. See, Turtle Me crafted the events leading up to this introduction in such a systematic way that it beats even some of Arthur's own introductions. I know that might be shocking to say, but it's true.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
Whenever an antagonist is introduced, the first time we see them has to have an impact that stays with us for the rest of their time as an antagonist. What do I mean by that? In a sense, if a character is introduced by them killing someone they come into contact with in their first scene, we tend to expect that kind of behavior from them down the line. And if they sway from that in any way, then it's either they're developing as characters or the writing is just not as frame tight. The person that comes to mind that fits this explanation at this moment would be Joaquin or the legendary slayer White Nagori Tau of God. But back to Seris, her intro had no dead bodies, no violence, but the impacts, and this came from the depiction of Algrona's fighters beforehand. When the war was in full swing and Arthur first encountered the Alacrian soldiers, they were depicted as barbaric fighters or berserkers, and they all just went in with no regard for themselves or for their teammates and slaughtered every single thing they could. They even messed up the chance for a marriage proposal. But after that event, Arthur, who was recently back from training with the gods in the Theatus, fought someone whose strength he incorrectly assumed was Scythe level. So when he found out that Jagrat was in fact just a retainer, his worldview of how the war would turn out was flipped. The confidence he had going in, especially after his encounter with Saurit and Uto, was slowly getting shaky because if he had this much trouble with the mere retainer, what are future battles gonna look like?
A scythe! A scythe! She howled, hobbling toward a nearby tree, Dawn's ballad still impaled in her left knee. I'll wipe that condescending woman off the face of Alacria and take her place. Just because she's a little attractive and her grunts fawn over her, she thinks she's better than me. I'll show her how degrading it is to be her retainer.
How strong were the Scythes if the people that followed them and served them were this strong? Can the Alliance survive more encounters with these monsters? These are the thoughts that I assumed were running through his head. And then he finally catches a glimpse of one of them, and she spots him. In a moment when he can't walk properly and was coughing blood because of a retainer, he felt the reactor of a Scythe who just glanced at him like he was a bug on the wall. In those few long seconds of her exiting the portal with a squad of people bowing down to her like she was a deity, Seris set herself apart from all the others that we met from Alacria. Why didn't she attack him though? Why did she just choose to smirk and walk away? Did she just think he would never amount to anything else? Or was she just using her presence to put fear in him to make him never want to return? We will never know. Well, actually we do, but it takes an eternity for us to know what's going on through her mind. But one thing for sure is she had a plan. She wasn't as hot-headed, but she was definitely cocky. She was a lot stronger than him and she knew it. Do you know what it means to spot an enemy, a clearly hostile enemy, in your territory and decide,
I'ma do my own thing?
You know what made me laugh a little? Arthur didn't even escape properly. That was the slowest "oh shit I'm about to die" escape I've ever seen. Has he not seen JoJo? On that note, has Arthur ever run away before? Was this moment canonically the first time Arthur became a bitch? Probably, but as the pain lover that he is, it was very smart of him to do that. See, the stronger you get, the better you become at noticing when you're completely outclassed. Now, even though he ran away, I wouldn't say it was a complete failure in his end. If he hadn't dealt with regret, the damage to the alliance would have been massive. And he ended up unlocking a hidden area that would actually prove useful in future fights, so the fact that he left alive was a complete win on his end. A kind of shameful win, but a win regardless. Now on that note, let's tangent a bit to the art. Now with the frequent changes to artists recently, I always thought that the latest one got a lot of things right, but it was just a tiny bit off when it came to Arthur. For example, his depiction of fights is kind of the best we've got so far.
I activated Burst Step once more, dodging the poisonous smoke and closing the gap between us in a blink. Tendrils of black lightning coiled around my right arm. Rather than attempting to break through her corroding aura and risk mutilating my other hand, I gripped the handle of my sword, which was still embedded in her thigh. The sword acted as a conductor, and the branches of electricity coiled down it and into the witch's body. Her limbs immediately stiffened and jerked in a fit of convulsions from the current of lightning passing through her body. I could see her trying to fight back, but I became hopeful as her hollow eyes went dim. "Please, just die," I pleaded in my head.
However, even though I know it was Arthur, it still felt like... how do I explain this?
The boulder feels conflicted.
The way Arthur was drawn looked like immaculate fan art. Does it make
Get a load of
sense?
this guy.
Like, I know he's drawing Arthur and is an amazing artist, but it didn't feel like he owned the drawings. It's hard to... But from chapter 194 onwards, something may have changed. I wonder if there was a discussion that was had, or if he's finally just fully comfortable, because now, to me, everything looks absolutely breathtaking. It's as if the art is now slowly and carefully being crafted to bring to life the creativity that Todomi uses to write the story, and I'm glad the art leveled up again, especially before we saw Seris. Also, the eyes. Seris's eyes look so good. See, little artistic decisions like this make novels come to life in a way that we as non-artists may not understand fully, but we can appreciate. Arthur described her eyes to be as piercing as her horns, but it looks like that might have changed. It's such a minor detail that could easily be interpreted as what he saw and not what it actually was. Now, in my opinion, Seris is one of tbate's best characters whose moments elevate the world in a positive way. The way she's used to raise questions about the current state of affairs in the world while subtly doing what she can to change things is not only brilliant, but dare I say, very brilliant.